Hey everyone, my name is Josh McKinney. I'm the CEO of Ekos. Thanks for joining the session today for building a tech stack. Appreciate Andrew and the Craft Professionals Group, the Craft Beer Professionals Group for having us today. Excited to be with you all. Before I get into everything, before I walk through it, I prefer these sessions to be interactive. So if you're there, if you're watching, and you want to make comments, if you want to ask questions as I go through, please do so. It's much more engaging that way. At least it is to me. I would prefer us all to be in a room together, but here we are and ready to go. So with this, we'll go ahead and jump in. So again, if you have any comments as we run through, please let me know. So a little bit about myself before I dig in to the rest of the presentation. Like I said, CEO, co-founder of Ekos. We started Ekos actually 8 years ago this month, which is kind of crazy to think about. But when we started, our focus always has been and is helping craft producers run their business better. Now, whenever we first started, that main focus was craft beer in the U.S., and then so many of you from other countries started reaching out, and it grew from there. But our purpose and our mission has always been to help you run your businesses more efficiently. We know that you didn't start your brewery to sit behind a computer for a number of hours a day. A lot of you left that world to start your brewery to run your business. So we want to help you be more efficient in all those ways. So what we do is we're business management software for craft alcohol. We mainly handle inventory from the raw materials, the finished goods side, production processes, so running your batches through no matter what that looks like, if you're doing a barrel aging or if you're just kind of quote unquote standard, whatever that may be. Sales process, so any sales orders, invoicing, your accounting, so generating your cost of goods, your profit margins, all that fun stuff, and then the reporting that goes along with that. So again, that's our main purpose. That's what we're doing. And today is to walk through, if you're watching this, more than likely you know tech, you understand it in some way. So I'm not here to encourage you to adopt more tech. I'm here to give some best practices on what we see in the market and kind of call out some of the best of breed solutions that other companies use, and just give you the insights on that. So with that, this presentation is based on a report that we just put out, and what it is it's called Building a Tech Stack: An Analysis of Breweries and Cideries. So we did 2 of these this year. We did one for breweries and cideries and one for wineries, which we work with as well. We typically see the cideries that we work with run more like a brewery, so that's why they're lumped in together. A lot of the insights are the same. So if you want to download this report, and I encourage you to do so because there's a lot more information in it than what I'm going to go over. It's a lot more granular details in there. And also, if you go to the link that this sends you to, we have a ton of other reports on the site to help you run your business. Now, they are not sales pitches for our software. We have an amazing marketing team that helps put events like this on, that puts a lot of content together. And the whole purpose of this resource library and our Craft Lab site is helping you get insights into how to run your business, whether you're a customer or not. We want to help the industry overall. It's not just about if you're on a customer and you're on board with us or you're not. We want to give you best insights on how to run your tap room, how to run your business, how to keep track of inventory, regardless if it's Ekos or something else. All these different pieces. There's a lot of great content there. Our team does an amazing job. So please take advantage of that. Go download all the reports that you can, read those insights to get the information, and hopefully it helps you in some way. So with that, let's get into what the survey looks like. So what we did was surveyed thousands of people. We got about 450 responses back. So that's what went into the main content of what we're going to go through in terms of inventory management, those type of things. And then what we also did is went out and manually researched over 1,600 breweries and cideries in the United States to see what they were using for e-commerce and technology in terms of if they have a club set up, what that looks like, as well as are they offering food? Is it just alcohol? What delivery options are there for those things? Just to get as much information as we could to get a landscape of where things stand, and then be able to provide those insights back to you. To maybe you hear about some solution that you didn't know about before, some best practice, whatever it may be. That's the whole intent with this. So as you can see on the right, out of those 450 respondents, this is how the breakdown worked. 23% of the respondents fell into the less than 1,000 barrels category. 37% fell into the medium size, which here is considered 1,000 barrels to 9,900 barrels. Next 12% larger than 10K. And then below that, 5% of the respondents were cideries. And then we had 23% of the respondents were international in that sense. Majority of those coming from Canada, but then a good amount from Australia, New Zealand, Europe, all over the place. So we got a good mix of sizes as well as locations for those as well. Now, if we go up to the next slide, let's dig in a little bit more to the details. So one of the main questions that we ask is, how would you grade your business on tech adoption? We want to get a sense of, whenever we talk about technology, first of all, how do you feel about it? And then second, what does tech mean to you? So out of the respondents, 17% said that they felt like they had a full technology adoption. That means automated processes, connected systems, all those things. 50% rated themselves a B, 30% C, 3% D, and thankfully no one considered themselves an F. Now, with this, the average comes out to be a B+, and we see this actually higher in beer, which is really no surprise to us, than we do other alcohol verticals. We see a lot of tech-savvy people in the space, which is awesome. That's great, and we can see that the audience that replied back to the survey reflected that as well. So how do you get to an A? What does that look like? One is having connected siloed systems. So getting those pieces together on the business to have automations in process, have those flowing to save time, to save dollars at the end of the day. And then real-time data and visibility across the business, and nowadays that's a key to the business. That's a main tenet that you should have running to get the insights that you need to be able to grow your business without having to pull your spreadsheets together, your pieces of paper, whatever it may be. Now we all still have these spreadsheets that hang around. I can't stand them to a degree, but they're good for numbers in some sense. They're just not good for getting insights into what decisions you should make for your business. So we see overall the industry grades themselves as a B+, which is good, but there's definitely room for improvement there. Now, as we move forward to get deeper into the information, tech you can't live without. So on the left, you can see all the different answers. We have a word cloud of all the different responses that we got in and what that looks like, with the big ones being Ekos at 48%. Now, I am going to give a disclaimer here. The majority of these respondents were Ekos customers, so we're going to be skewed that way. 31% spreadsheets, 28% QuickBooks, 22% email as a tech that you can't live without. So you can see on the left, there's a lot of other respondents. We have people that are answering cell phone is tech you can't live without, computers, text messaging, QuickBooks, Google Sheets, your laptop, your computer. Yes, these are enablers of tech. Whenever we ask about technology, we're more so referring to actual software that you're using to help enable the business. But this is the breakdown of respondents that we can see on the tech you can't live without. We see Slack, which has definitely risen in the last couple of years, especially because of COVID. Historically, you would see something like Skype, but those pieces, they rise to the top, rise and fall. And I thought what was interesting is, in some of the pieces in here, if you can't see them, you have people like Basecamp and Monday.com showing up as well to help with all the different moving pieces that you have going on in your facility and your brewery. So just keeping track of all the moving pieces between the teams is key on that. And next, as we go through production inventory, what technology can you not live without? Business management software was the top answer in this example, with Ekos being the first. But then over on the right, you can see for QA and QC, what are you using for that? How are you keeping track of your batches, your consistency, your quality overall? Out of the respondents, 66% said Ekos, 17% said they're using their spreadsheets, and then 14% said no system. So we're going to make assumptions here on this for the spreadsheets and the no system, that it's being kept track of somewhere. I mean, you're all keeping track of your product in shape, form, or fashion to see how well it's performing over time, batch over batch. how it's keeping track of in the market, if you're doing any testing whenever your product actually goes out, if you're checking the shelves to make sure you don't have any expired product on the shelves. So there's multiple different facets of this, and we see QA and QC as a big important process. And frankly, as a company, we don't do that well at it today. You can keep track of your information in it, but we have a lot of exciting updates on the horizon for this piece specifically that's really going to help drive that quality, not just your inventory, not just your costing and those things that are key to the business, but some of the things that are also just as essential as the back of house stuff. So we're excited about that. Now on the DTC and sales side, we have a wide variety of information here, so we'll go through and step through it. One, point of sale. So we got a lot of respondents on this and a lot of variety of answers. Now, what do I mean by that? You all know this. If you have a point of sale, there is so many to choose from. You have the main ones you can see here. 38% of the respondents said they use Square, 19% said they use Arrived, and 16% said they use Toast. And then you go below this and it's like 1% use Lightspeed, 1% use Aloha, and it just keeps going on the respondents. But these are the three that we see that have risen to the top. If you want to get the full list of all the solutions that people are using, you can download the report and view it there. But these are the main players that we see in the space. On the e-commerce side, what are you using to sell your products online? So we're not talking about necessarily a club option here, but just, are you selling anything online? It can be merch, food, whatever. What are you using? So 26% of the respondents said they were using Square, 19% said they were using Shopify, and 15% said they were using Toast. Now, we went a level deeper on this to find out what you're selling online, what's the mix of that back to the business. So what we saw here was 60% are selling some sort of alcohol, beer and cider through their e-commerce channel, 19% selling food, 63% selling merch, and out of those, 67% were offering pickup, 71% offering shipping, and 30% offering local delivery. And we'll kind of call that out a little bit in the next slide in terms of what distribution looks like, just to pull that out a bit. But this is the breakdown that we see. What we tend to see is if you're selling some sort of food, if you have a brew pub set up or you have some sort of kitchen set up within your location, we do see a good amount of those companies using Toast for that. It just seems to be an easier process to get set up, to get the food set up and everything else. But we see a good amount of people doing that. And obviously you have that merch flowing in with it as well. In the time of the last 2 years of COVID, we've definitely seen a big pickup on the e-commerce side, as well as the pickup and the delivery option on that. There's multiple ways you can do it, but this is the way we see that breakdown on the e-commerce side. And then let's go over to Club. What system are you using there? So what we saw was 18% replied back, we have a club, but we're not using anything for it. So what can that be? That can be a mix of emails, Google Sheets, spreadsheets, just paper, whatever it may be. Below that, 13% said they were using Shopify, 12% said they were using Squarespace. And then again, just like the e-commerce and the point of sale, you get into what's being used, and it's just a massive list of a lot of different solutions with 1% of the respondents using this, 1% using this. There's just a lot of options out there. There's also a lot of companies out there that can help you get these clubs set up and going in a way. Now, what we see on our side is we work with wineries as well, and what we've really seen on that side is clubs have been a much more prevalent option in that space because it's been there for a long time. You go visit Napa, you're not going to be able to get a wine on your shelf and where you're living as easily as you'd like to. So they have that club model down. And what we're seeing and what we're reviewing now is how do we help you all set that up in your company as well to have that source of recurring revenue come in. I think Shopify, Squarespace, WooCommerce, whatever it may be, are good options to get up and running on that. But setting up some sort of club to where you have your rare releases going out that way, your specialty releases, if you just want to have, my recommendation is you just have the club set up for your recurring revenue. They pay you once a year for a club membership. They get early access to specific releases. They can come by and pick it up. You don't have to do any shipping or anything like that if you don't want to, but there are different ways to get those club models set up to where you can be adding revenue to the business, something that's a little more predictable, but maybe have like 5% of your finished goods going to it, as opposed to like do a 50-50 split between distribution and club. But there's a lot of options on the club side as well. If you dig into the report, you can get some more information on how to set those up. but that's just an example of what we saw. Next up, distribution. So what did this look like? So distribution, variety of different options here. What we saw in the respondents were 64% of breweries and cideries are self-distributing, the ones that replied back to us. The ones that were under 10,000 barrels were more than likely to self-distribute. 63% said they were using a third-party distributor. 2% said they have no wholesale distribution. Now, to go over on the pieces on the right, we can see the pulling back the e-commerce piece, delivery methods for e-commerce orders. What we saw here, 67% for the pickup, 71% for shipping, and 30% for local delivery. So for us, for Ekos, we are located in Charlotte, North Carolina, and a lot of the breweries around here that were doing self-distribution did a really good job of setting up local deliveries with their existing teams that they have, using a platform like Shopify, for example. So have people go on, purchase the products, get it delivered out based on certain routes. That's a good way to help as long as it's sustainable, right? You don't want to go too far out from where you're located and extend your team too much. But if you have that infrastructure in place already for self-distribution or anything else, it's a good way to look at local delivery as another way to bring in some dollars without adding more infrastructure cost to that process. For the other e-commerce piece, the 71% using shipping, we did see people doing shipping as a method to get their product in people's hands. My feedback there is make sure you're staying compliant whenever you're doing that, based on what state you're in, based on the states that you're shipping to, if you're even allowed to ship to those states. So looking at something like a Ship Compliant and Avalara, some solution to help you manage that whole process to make sure you're not out of compliance and you're going to get dinged for it at some point. And the pickup method, we've seen it be really successful. And that especially goes to the special releases. But then, and you all know this to some extent, I'm sure, you can have a pickup method on your site, you can have a shipping method on your site, or you can have a delivery option. Even if you have these stores set up, you really need to have someone dedicated in your company, in your business, to pushing eyeballs to these sites. What do I mean by that? You need to be pushing these options out on social media. You can't just set up the site, let it sit there, and expect people to come to it just because they're Googling something. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen is for companies, for breweries, for cideries that are leveraging their e-commerce stores, they're going to be leveraging social media to be in front of people, to be top of mind, to push to these websites. If it is a special release, if it's just, hey, get some of our cores, swing by, pick them up, we'll bring them out to you, whatever it may be. Make sure you have a good marketing person either on staff or consulting with externally to push people to your site to buy the products. What's going to happen is consumers, and we'll go a little bit through the challenges here in a minute, they're going to be buying product. With so many options nowadays between the beer, cider, we can talk about it. We can talk about everyone's favorite topic of seltzer, ready to drink beverages, whatever it may be. There's so many options. And so many of these larger brands are pushing out their message and paying to get the eyeballs from people who could be buying from you. So if you're not staying top of mind and you have these stores and things set up, they're not going to buy from you. The ones that are very loyal to you will, but you're not going to be able to drive new revenue from new consumers if you're not getting in front of them. So if we go down a little bit to the distribution piece, what we can talk about for the CRM side is what system are you using to keep track of your customers. So CRM, customer relationship management, 53% of the respondents said they were using Ekos, 25% said they weren't using any system at all, 7% using Karma from VIP, and 4% using LilyPad. So this is a big piece, especially you can do two different variations here. If you're doing self-distribution, please, please, please have some sort of CRM set up. Ideally, it's something that's good at keeping track of your previous orders, buying history, keg deposits if you can, to make sure that you have all that in one place. Because if you think about it, if you're not using a system, if your system that's being used is your sales rep cell phone, email, something like that, that person walks, or your worst case scenario, you have to fire them. All that history goes with them, goes with their phone, their text messages go. It's just a lot that walks out the door. And then you have to play a lot of catch up with those customers to know, okay, well, what's selling well, what's not selling well, help me on what your preferences are, those type of things. So please use something to help manage those relationships, to help manage their preferences, just to help your business so that you're protected in what could be times of chaos and also times of scale. Now, the next piece, sales orders and invoices, what are you using to manage those? So out of the respondents, 85% said they're managing those via text, calls, and emails. It's exactly what I was just talking about. That gives me a lot of stress knowing that there's that much information on your reps' phones and that can change at any moment. We all know the labor market's crazy right now. People are changing jobs left and right, and you want to make sure that you have that data so it's not walking away with your employees. Next to that, 18% using a digital order portal, but most craft makers are just still using manual methods to manage these orders. So my challenge to you as an owner, as an operator, as a sales rep, is to keep track of the time that you're using on these methods, these manual methods, and see how much inefficiencies there are in the process. See how much time you're spending. And that goes with anything, right? That goes with TTP reporting, that goes with doing inventory counts, cycle counts, whatever it may be. But just taking a step back and adding up that time and putting a dollar amount to what you think your time's worth and seeing what that equates to. A lot of times, and we do this too as a software company, we have to evaluate different options that we use internally to provide better service to you, to provide more efficiencies, to provide a better experience. And that's a cost for us. And then you can tell those inefficiencies and stuff, those also bleed out to your customers if you're not using them the right way. So it's important to keep these things top of mind and to make sure that you're being as efficient as possible and you're using the right tools and you're not having to keep track of everything through a text message chain and go back and search everything. Please have some sort of system set up to where you can refer back to this information, to these invoices, to the sales history. Even keeping track of keg deposits if you're doing self-distribution is enough. If you are using distributors and you're not doing any self-distribution, I really encourage you to still use some sort of system if you have sales reps to keep track of that relationship history, even though you're not directly selling to those customers. You want to make sure that you and your distributor have a good relationship set up. I know some of you are laughing right now, but you and your distributor have a good relationship set up to where you can communicate back and forth. And if someone wants to buy something, you're getting in touch with them to make sure that that order is going to be pushed through, that they're going to be invoiced, it's going to be delivered. There's just a lot to manage there. So using something to help manage all those variations in your day-to-day life processes, whatever else, is key just to gain some efficiencies back in the business. Now, accounting and analytics. This is probably going to come as no surprise, but 89% of the respondents using QuickBooks, 78% using QuickBooks Online, which has definitely increased over the last couple of years, 19% using Desktop Edition, and 3% for whatever reason using both. I hope that 3% are using both because they're in a period of transition and migrating over to one or the other, whatever it may be. But the majority of the market still uses QuickBooks. More people that tried QuickBooks Online, 10 years ago are trying it again now. It's much improved, much more efficient for the business. You don't have to worry about Desktop Edition and it being installed on one computer, and that's the only place you can access it from. There's just a lot of efficiencies to be gained with the online version. But this is what the majority of the market's using. And what we see also is kind of behind this is Xero, and then you start getting into different tools like Dynamics, Sage, those type of things. On the right, analytics and business intelligence. So our question here is, how are you leveraging the data that you're gathering in the business to make better decisions? What does that look like? Is it efficient? And what we saw here was 62% are using spreadsheets for analytics and business intelligence. 20% no system, which also in a lot of cases meant not doing anything at all in terms of getting insights back out of the business. And then 12% using iDig by VIP. So there's a huge opportunity here to get better visibility and analytics by using some sort of solution. So for us, for Ekos, we have a powerful reporting tool, but then also we're looking at different ways to take that data as well as from other places to push insights back to you all to make better decisions. Just looking at your sales trends month over month or year over year gives you an idea of where your production dollars should go, where your production time utilization on your tank should be spent. to be able to get that back out in the market. There's a lot of different variations on this analytics and business intelligence piece. But ideally, you're using some sort of system that you can get this data out of, either to leverage it in that or pump it into something else to figure out the next steps that you need to make in the business and for the business. So again, download the report. We're going to go through some industry trends here. But like I said, what I'm going through is just a high level summary. I believe the report's around 30 pages. There's a lot of great material in there on how other breweries have set up a lot of different tech stacks like this to make efficiencies in their business, the efficiencies they've gained, the full list of products that are being utilized. There's just a lot of information. It doesn't cost anything. Go download it. The same with the other reports on the site. Hopefully they'll give you some information to better help you run your business. Now, industry trends, challenges, and opportunities. I want to talk through these because essentially at the end of the day, these all tie back to ways that you can leverage technology to help in these areas. So with this, what we see is a growth of new alcohol segments. It's interesting to see. So like I said, at Ekos, we've been around 8 years now, and there's always been this resistance to new products that come up, and it's interesting to see now more and more companies trying new things to be able to grab more market share, which is good. It's always good to try different options for your business to see what lands, what doesn't land. But we see these new segments popping up, gaining more and more share. It seems like everyone and their brother wants to create some sort of new flavored drink. You have uh, hard Mountain Dew out, and everyone and their brothers buying it, and it's just one other piece that we as breweries have to compete with to get people's eyeballs on our products to get them to buy. So possibly on the production side, changing things up a little bit, getting more products into the tap room, test them out a little bit to see if people like them, what the response is. Keep doing small batches, testing them to see what that looks like, and then pushing that out into the market. So these other segments that are growing can either be a hindrance to the business or they can be an opportunity if approached the right way. The opportunity there lies in reaching Gen Z and millennial consumers. So every time I say Gen Z, it makes me feel really old because some of Gen Z is now able to buy alcohol. They're over 21, which is just insane. But they are a new subset of the market that you need to be in front of. The majority of them are going to be looking on social media for the products that they want to buy. And again, you don't have to, you can put dollars to that to get in front of more people, but also if you just have a good social media team curated experience that is pushing this information out through different channels, the defaults are Facebook, Instagram. You can do, I feel old saying this, but TikTok, whatever it may be. A lot of brands are pushing there because they know that's where the eyeballs are going to be for this generation. So leveraging different people, a lot of times we see a lot of success from companies leveraging some of their bartenders because they may be on these social platforms anyway, and they may have an eye for what works. So ask different people in the business what they see on social media, what they like, and see if there's a subset that fits for your company that can get in front of more people. So this is a big opportunity, but it's also a challenge, especially if you're not as socially savvy like myself. It's always good to help get someone else help you with that process. Next, supply chain crisis and economic concerns. Everyone is facing inflation right now. With everything that's going on overseas, that's just driving home higher prices on grains and other specialty crops. And as if it wasn't bad enough with just the supply chain constraints of getting things on time. So there's all these different concerns that are affecting you on a day-to-day basis, from getting your raw materials in when you need them, getting your packaging components in when you need them, being able to actually get products out into the market. And then your consumers are feeling that same pain. Their dollars aren't going as far as they were a couple of months ago, especially a couple of years ago. So it's complicated. It's complicated just to help run your business, but then also, are you pushing these products out at the right price? And that's where the pricing challenges come in. Do you have a full understanding of what your beer actually costs to make? Do you have the total cost of your materials you're bringing in? Have you been reviewing those to see how they've been changing over time to know how much margin you're getting on that product you're pushing out that may have been the same price for the last 5 years. But maybe now you're making a smaller margin on it. Do you need to adjust your game plan on maybe making some less of that product and making more of something else that's going to help bring in some more revenue, help bring in the top line, and help keep the lights on? All these things are hard to navigate, and it seems like they vary from day to day. But this is something that's just weighing on a lot of us, and the pricing challenges that go with it. Make sure you're talking to your suppliers. Make sure you're asking them if there's any concessions they can give, um, if there's any specials that they can give in this time. I expect the grain prices to keep going up with everything that's going on in Ukraine. So I think keep an eye on that. Just make sure you're watching your costs and make sure you're putting your dollars in the right places so that you're able to keep the business going. And then the need to diversify sales channels. So this is a huge opportunity, and it's also one of those things that I feel like talking to more and more of you out in the market, it's just kind of an overwhelm on how do I even get this set up? It's hard enough having to run a tasting room. It's hard enough having to manage the relationship with my distributor. It's hard enough having to manage my self-distribution team and my fleet, my team members. It's just all a lot. You're facing a lot of challenges on a day-to-day basis. So looking at your sales channels that you're in today, and what I mean by that is going through your traditional 3-tier, your distributor, doing self-distribution, doing your e-commerce and club model if you're doing it today. If not, I encourage you to do so, as well as your tap room. What does that blend look like on your sales? So what do I mean by that is if you review your sales, what percentage is going out in the market via distribution or self-distribution? What percentage of your product is going out in the tasting room? And then what's going out on club and e-commerce? And then a good thing to do is take a step back and say, okay, is this the breakdown that I want? And also look at your product margins on each of those sales channels and figure out, is this where I want it to be? Do I need to push more product via the web, via a club model, via e-commerce? In the report, we have a great case study on Great Notion Brewing out west, and the way that they think through the business and to engage with their consumers is really cutting edge, because they are very intentional with diversifying these sales channels, and they're also very intentional on the way that they want to have their margins kind of broke down in the business. They're very intentional about how they want that percentage of revenue coming in on each channel, and that's where they focus. So to you, it may not be important to drive that much revenue through the tap room, the tasting room. That could also be based on where you're located. If you're in a more rural area, if you're in a very populated area, if you're in a city center or something else. All these nuances are just based on you, based on your company, and then based on the type of company you want to have. So, in any one of these sales channels and any of these variations, my encouragement, my truth to speak to you is, please try to digitize these as much as possible to get that information in, to be able to just figure out what works, make it efficient as possible, to where you're taking care of the business, which then in turn allows you to take care of your employees and everyone else. So these are a lot of the challenges and opportunities that we see. This isn't just limited to breweries. This is across the board in alcohol, and that squeeze is definitely coming in with all the different variations of products. But just some encouragement on that. If you need any other help or advice, again, go download some reports, but also just reach out to us, and we can help point in the right direction from some different partners, consultants, and things like that. So how to respond to this, how to embrace technology and digitizing your supply chain. So I'm going to give a quick high level on this. When I talk about Ekos and kind of what we're doing now and overall, our main push is to digitize the craft supply chain. And what does that even mean? That means to create efficiencies in your business. Again, for myself, I grew up in a small town in the Western North Carolina mountains, and I know how important small business can be to a community. And that's what a lot of you do. You build community through your products, through your tap rooms, through what the messaging that you put out in the market. And so we want to make all this as seamless as possible so that you can focus on those things. I don't want you sitting behind a computer all day. So for us, the way that we build things out, we have our core product that we started with, which is, if you've really been around a while, Ekos Brewmaster was the original name for it. Now it's just Ekos, but it's our core product. I actually have the old school shirt on today. but it's the inventory and production management, managing all those things. We have integrations in place for the Square, the Arrived, the Commerce 7 side that helps a lot with wine clubs, but can also help with breweries as well, the accounting integrations, and we're looking at adding more integrations on this as well. We have Shopify integration coming out soon, which you'll be able to see, which according to the tech stack is going to be a big lift. So we're excited about that and helping you all be more efficient there. But then last year, one of the most requested features that we've had over the years is please allow my customers to buy product directly from me. So what we did is released a product called Ekos Order Hub. And what this does is allows you as a producer to send out invites to either distributors or retailers to purchase product directly from you. Now, what does that do? It gives them the images, the descriptions. It's a digital sales sheet of your products, but then also gives them the inventory that you have of each product. So it allows them to see how many kegs, cans, bottles that you have in real time because it's synced back with your Ekos instance. So they know exactly how much they can buy, how much you have left if it's running out soon. It also allows you to allows them to pre-order products from you if you have a special release coming out at some point. And this is just a way to make that more efficient so that you and your reps aren't having to go on site every single day and once a week or whatever else and just walk in and talk to Joe or Sally and say, okay, what's doing well, what's not doing well, is this moving, is it not moving, do we need to replace it with something? It helps with a lot of that back and forth and makes it more efficient, and that's what we want to do. We want to be able to help you enable that. We're seeing great adoption on the distributor and on the retailer side, and we expect that to grow. So these are just some ways that we can help you in your day-to-day processes. And in terms of just quick value, um, hours saved, TTB reports, manual processes, improving visibility. You can see we have a case study here to where just the COGS reporting alone for cost of goods sold allowed one of our customers to increase their margins up to 10%. So they did it right at 10% based on that. We've helped companies grow numerous times over, and we've also helped on the production side to help any disruptions from raw materials because of shortages and the price increases that are coming. So we've done this. We've been around. We have a great team here at the office dedicated to helping you get the most value from Ekos, but then also in your business as well. So with that, I just want to say thanks for tuning in today. I really appreciate the time. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments real quick and I'll go over them. But if not, and you need anything, please go download the report on our resource library website. Please reach out to anyone on the team here and we'll do what we can to help you out. So again, appreciate everything that you all do. And look real quick. Good to go. Awesome, everyone. Appreciate it. Hope you have a fantastic Wednesday. See you later.